Om Mani Padme Hum. 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 Om Mani Padme Hum.
Peace, 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 peace to the family. Peace, love, and light. Welcome back to another episode. Sunday service. Mineral Ministries presents. This is epilogue 141. No pain, no gain. I'm your host, Pablo. And again, to explain, family, we are opening up the show with a mantra, right? And this is one of those hacks. If you want to fast track yourself to a spiritual state of Zen, if you want to tap into that theta region of your brain, if you want to shift into the zone, if you want to free yourself and allow yourself a free ticket to go home, then it's recommended that we do certain mantras. This particular mantra is titled Om, right? Which is the origin frequency or the sound of the universe. Om, Mani, Padme, Om, right? And I'll explain it to you. Um, Again, this is to induce inside of the body nitric oxide, okay? But I'll go ahead and let you be, intentional with your humming. And it's recommended when we hum, we do at least a minute humming, locking the tip of our tongue to the roof of our mouth so we can create a circuit, right? The tip of the tongue to the roof of the mouth so you can create a circuit and you can turn your body into a bell, right? You can turn your body into a resonance instrument. You can turn your body into a sound bell. Okay. And that sound bell helps amplify whatever is coming up through you, your intentions. Okay. And it's also a healing modality. It's a body hack that you can induce healing properties in your own body. You can become a mineral manufacturer and induce the healing because you are the healer. Your body ultimately will do the healing. Your body's ultimately the healer. Your body ultimately will self-correct itself once you get out of its way, put the necessary needed things in place of your body for your body to do what it needs to do. So this is one of those healing modalities. If for nothing else, if if you walk away with nothing else from this episode in this program, it's that we took a few minutes to really tap into ourselves, into that inner self, to that inner verse, um, to achieve a unadulterated state of peace, right? To push the noise out. I'll read to you very quickly the definition of this particular mantra. This is defined as hail to the jewel in the lotus, right? And you're the jewel in the lotus, that 144,000 petal lotus that's at your crown chakra. You are the jewel in the lotus. You are the center point. You're the 0 point. You're the fulcrum through which this experience is taking place, right? And we're all different people. We all come from different places and we all have our different perspectives, interpretations, experiences, memories, missions, and assignments. There are very few things that are universal to us. You know what I'm saying? There are very few things that are universal to us. This is one of those things, a resonant frequency, a mantra such as Om. While people are in conflict and they're going to war over different names of deities, different origin points, right? Different geographical locations and things of that nature. Um, what we should not shirk on is once again the opportunity to participate, tap in, and share a universal frequency that's free of all of the noise, conflict, and confusion that comes along with organized religion. You know what I'm saying? Um, Hail to the jewel in the lotus, representing the potential for enlightenment within all beings, purifying negative emotions like greed, ignorance, and anger into wisdom and compassion through its 6 syllables, each cleansing a specific defilement and leading to the perfection of the 6 Buddhist paramitas: generosity, ethics, patience, diligence, concentration, and wisdom. It signifies a transforming impure body, speech, and mind into a Buddha's pure form by finding the jewel within the lotus. So the jewel is the Buddha nature within the lotus, which can be referred to as our human condition, right? This human condition that we seem to share with one another. Like I said, we're all from different places, different backgrounds, have different experiences, have different perspectives, right? Different goals and ambitions, but we do share some things that are universal. One of the things we share that are universal is that we have the faculty of breath in our body and the ability to breathe. And for the most of us, I would say for a very strict, tight 99.9% of us, right, that is the animating principle that gives us life, right? That's a universal principle that we all share, and it animates us and gives us life, regardless of race, creed, religion, or political affiliation. We all have to breathe. About 98% of us have to, you know, have to eat sustainable food and drink water, right? There are a very small percentage of us that are breatharians that have managed to hack the program. For the rest of us, we have to utilize these methodologies in order to tap into our biology, in order to kick in the door to our divinity. And humming is a hack. Breathing is another hack. So we'll share with you also, again, if you walk away with nothing else from this program, let this serve as the opportunity for you to get closer to self by doing something that is specific to you that you have to participate in so you can see what the power of your vessel is, this body that you live in, this vehicle that you're traveling in, this journey that you signed up for, right? I can't do that for you. I can help and instruct to get you there, but you got to push yourself over the top. So we're going to do a breathing technique, right? Where we're going to slow down and reduce our breathing to 2 times in 1 minute, which almost guarantees that you not only tap into theta state, a theta brainwave state, which is inducive of or the induction into being in the zone, right? Um, Being tapped in, as they call it, you know, living life like it's golden, lucid living, you know what I'm saying? Not having to think, just live and be and hit all of your points, floating through your day, cascading through your day. You feel me? Really being presently present. So humming significantly boosts nitric oxide production in your nasal passages by causing air oscillation that enhances gas exchanges with the sinuses where nitric oxide is produced, leading to dramatic increases in exhaled nitric oxide, which has antimicrobial properties and can help with sinus issues like sinusitis. This humming method acts as a natural way to release beneficial nitric oxide, potentially improving sinus ventilation and fighting pathogens, though its effectiveness depends on open sinus pathways. So, the humming also is wonderful for people who have sinus issues, right? But once again, the heavy emphasis is on the humming being able to turn the body into a instrument by way of what's called oscillation. This is opening up and clearing the channels. This is tuning the instrument. This is turning the body into a bell. This is picking up the resonance, which is picking up the magnetism, which is making you more attractive to the universe. This is conspiring for your success. So whatever's on your plate, whatever's on your mind, whatever's on your heart has a better opportunity of it becoming an ample part of our universe and a permanent part of your life, right? So I want to share with you just a deep breathing technique where you can slow your exhales down to 2 a minute, meaning that wherever you're at any point of the day, regardless of what you may be going through, you can slow your brain waves down, you can slow your heart rate down, you can calm your nervous system down, and you can tap into theta, which I would say if you have to get into decision making, if you feel nervous about something, right? Yes. If you the threat of toxicity might be coming onto your body like a scratchy throat or once again sinuses. These are things that you can utilize in real time, regardless of where you're at, who you're with, or what you're going through to help yourself and potentially act as a conduit to help somebody that's next to you that may need help by you sharing this information that now you know works because you experienced it. Feel me? So we're gonna breathe. I'm gonna lead the breathing is from a deep inhale is going to be taken from the bottom of my stomach, which is my diaphragm. So I'm not pulling from my lungs. I'm pulling from the bottom of my stomach like that, like babies do. You know what I'm saying? And I'm going to hold my air in my lungs for about 20 seconds. And then I'll use 10 seconds to exhale. And I'll do that 2 times, which means that For 1 minute, I just exhaled, because a full exhale is a full exhale. I could take 10 seconds to do it, or I could do it in a second. It's up to me. But having that control is needed and necessary for you to be able to tap into your reservoir of power whenever you need it. Again, because the breath is the very thing that animates us. We are alive because we're breathing. The quality of air that we're breathing means that we can live a better life. But we can use air like valves in order to kick in different gears in our body, because this body is a vehicle. This body's a vehicle. And the breath is the gears in the whip that help you shift gear and take it to higher levels. So let's get this breathing underway, right? Deep abdominal breathing, diaphragmic breathing is what I call it. I'm gonna do a deep inhale. I'm hold. Exhale. That's 30 seconds. Inhale. Hold. So that's two exhales in 1 minute. And according to the breathing chart, I had posted one on my page the other day. I believe it was about Monday or Tuesday. You guys can go back and check it out. They said that being able to exhale 2 times in 1 minute means that you have excellent breathing. You know what I'm saying? Excellent breathing. And I know that we can get better with our breathing. We can get better at breathing. We can get even more succinct as a community. Imagine a community that all breathed in synchronicity and we had a collectivized intention, right? So we have an intention. Peace, my brother. We all breathe together for the intention. We're creating a quantum mind, and whatever we want is being amplified by the sacrifice that we are making individually with our bodies to what control our breathing apparatus, subsiding fear, subsiding doubt, you know what I'm saying? And really being able to tap into our strength, which is discipline, which is resolve, which is collectivism, you know what I'm saying? And our ability, once again, to sacrifice this vessel to do something of a higher calling. And this is what we show up for. We're not scared of the assignment. You know what I'm saying? We run to it. We don't run from it. Yeah, so the post says how deep you breathe directly affects your health. And I'm not saying that I am the healthiest person on the planet. I'm not going for that title, role, or assignment. I am saying that I'm working on myself though. And I'm saying that I've given myself permission to say that I have the capacity to be that if I so choose. And I'm also not pressurized by time, because I'm convinced, you know, that I have the time. You know what I'm saying? So I'm not under the pressure of time. I just crossed the rubrics of the age of 50, and I'm giving myself permission to live finally, because god damn it, it was a journey. You know what I'm saying? And now I finally feel like releasing and allowing myself to not be pressurized by time, because I'm on all borrowed time at this point. So yes, if there's nothing else that I'm able to leave you with, I want to share with you how to achieve peace. I want to share with you where that divine kingdom exists within you. You know, you have to utilize it to go within. That's why they show the image of the Merkaba. You going inside of yourself, inside of your inner verse, on your vehicle as a Merkaba, as a light body, is all inclusive of us learning how to breathe and check up out of here whenever we want to. Like the Matrix, you can your phone booth is portable when you master the breathing apparatus. You know what I'm saying? So it says here, breaths per minute, which is our BPM. If you're down to 6, 5, or 4, you're in an excellent zone, right? You're down here in the green zone, you're in the excellent zone. So we got it down to 1 or 2. You know, we're doing better. And that's okay. That's okay. It's okay to be dope. It's okay to be doing excellent plus. You know what I'm saying? The mental effects of achieving this level of stasis, right, is peaceful, clarity, tranquility. The happy hormones that you're releasing are dopamine, serotonin, endorphins, and oxytocin, right? And that's all the physical effects of that are healing and rejuvenation. Um, Once again, like I said, you have the ability and the capacity within yourself to be the healer. You are the healer. The only thing that we're glorified helpers. But you are the healer. Your body is the one that performs what probably could be considered miracle. You know what I'm saying? By you doing the right things with it, it operates in a different capacity than it has in previous callings and previous times. And what a wonderful opportunity, you know what I'm saying, to utilize our given ability to tap into self, to heal, to see what this thing is all about once and for all, right? Bar none. You don't need no interpreter. You don't need nobody to tell you what it is. You know for sure. So let's get into today's word. If you just joined us, this is Mineral Ministries, Lion Gates Ministries, Mineral Ministries presents uh, Sunday service. Yes, Sunday service. This is epilogue 141, and today's presentation is named "No Pain, No Gain," right? Because these are the things that require sacrifice, and sacrifice is good. You know what I'm saying? And just like they show in the good book in the Bible, sacrifice is necessary, and God wouldn't talk to you without sacrifice. You know what I'm saying? God wouldn't talk to you without sacrifice. So if they put such an emphasis on sacrifice, if they put such a weight, a metric on it, you know what I'm saying? Who are we to shirk it? Who are we to duck it? You know what I mean? We're gonna deal with it. We're gonna look at it for what it is. We're gonna do the knowledge. And that's what we're here doing today. So Mineral Ministries is non-denominational, mostly conversational, goddamn it, sometimes confrontational. Um, we got to get to the bottom of the truth. And how we go about doing that is how we go about doing it. So, you know what I mean? Sometimes we got to kick in doors to get there. It is what it is. As we can see, is needed and necessary because we're finally getting answers. The universe is responding and conspiring for our success, at least for you to know what you need to know. It's going to put it on the paint right in front of you, right in front of you. You do with it as you so please, goddamn it, but ain't no secrets. It's out here. It's waiting for you. You want it, go get it. You want it, go get it. So we use the Gregorian calendar date. Today is 12/14. So we'll go in chapter 12, verse 14 throughout the book. And we will explore, right, the parameters of the word and see what it has for us on this here good day. 12:14, we'll start right in Genesis. Abram and Sarah in Egypt. Okay. Please say you are my sister, so that I will be treated well for your sake, and on account of you, my life will be spared. So he already started with a lie, started with a finesse, and that lie caused him to have niggas sliding up in his whiz because he couldn't stand on truth. Right? So when Abram entered Egypt, the Egyptians saw that the woman was very beautiful. So, off of false premises, you create this relationship and this connection with these people who you're coming to for aid and assistance, but you came through lying. And a lie begets a lie, and it didn't end well for either party. So when Abram entered Egypt, the Egyptians saw that the woman was very beautiful. They synced her, they clocked her. When Pharaoh's officials saw Sarah, they commended her to him, and she was taken into the palace of Pharaoh. The Pharaoh don't slide up in your whiz, right? And you mad, and you want God to come and burn this whole thing down now because of that. You was really in your feelings. I know you had to be in your feelings. You better had been in your feelings, right? But off of the premise of a lie, it begets a lie. And this is Abram, y'all. This is the patriarch. This is God's guy. You know what I'm saying? He's the one that's chosen. The children are gonna come through him. But he ain't even figured out. Yeah, he let somebody knock his whiz down. It's like you have not even figured out how to prioritize protecting the womb that this mighty nation gonna come up out of. And already you got Pharaoh sliding up in your whiz. The feast of the unleavened bread. If these people were so inferior, if these people were so beneath God with their pagan worship of their God, right? Why I have to lie to them? They got largesse. They living it up though, right? They're the ones with the inferior gods, but they got surplus. They're living it up. They got a system. Pharaoh got enough power where your whiz got to go and see him and he knock it down. You know, shit crazy. But he shouldn't have been lying. Exodus 12:14, the feast of unleavened bread. And this day will be a memorial for you, and you are to celebrate it as a feast of the Lord, as a permanent statute for the generations to come. For 7 days you must eat unleavened bread. On the first day you are to remove the leaven from your houses. Whoever eats anything leavened from the first day through the seventh must be cut off from Israel. Unleavened, right? You should got to be unleavened. Okay. And these are the ceremonial dates and engagements to the needed and necessary for one to participate in, for them to show that they are part of the covenant, part of the tribe, right? This is what Jews do ceremonially. Okay. Leviticus 23:4, these are the Lord's appointed feasts, the sacred assemblies you are to proclaim at their appointed times. The Passover to the Lord begins at twilight on the 14th day of the first month. On the 15th day of the same month begins the feast of unleavened bread to the Lord. For 7 days you must eat unleavened bread. All right. And again, we said this on the last two shows. I believe bread plays a very prominent role. And initially, throughout scripture, in the beginning of scripture, Bethlehem, or should I say, the house of bread would be considered Bethlehem. the body of Christ, you know, and its correlation to bread later on in scripture. Yeah, and it deals with the constellation of Virgo, which is harvest, the bread basket. So the house of bread, you know, Bethlehem, born to a virgin or born in Virgo, these are all markers that speak to the astrological origins of the story that's being told with this book. The virgin or Virgo, right? The daughter, always having this correlation with Beth or bread, should we say. The house, right? She is the temple, physical vessel. Shout out to Valentine. But she also represents the bread or Virgo, the harvest, right? Or Persephone, as she's also known in the mythos, or in our modern day parlance of the way that this narrative has been told. Cassie, nigga, Cassie. Cassie is Persephone in the mythos. This getting to get snatched up by Hades, which is the Scorpio, and taken to the underworld, which is the industry. Numbers 12:14, the murmuring of Miriam and Aaron. So Moses cried out to the Lord, "Oh God, please heal her." But the Lord answered Moses, "If her father had but spit in her face, would she not have been in disgrace for 7 days? Let her be confined outside the camp for 7 days. After that, she may be brought back in." So Miriam was confined outside of the camp for 7 days, and the people did not move on until she was brought in again. Man, was she was living in. He had Miriam outside. Let me go into a cross reference here. 2 Kings 5:1. Now, Naaman, the commander of the army of the king of Aram was a great man in his master's sight and highly regarded. For through him the Lord had given victory to Aram, and he was a mighty man of valor. Right. So Aram is a warrior. Ram is Aries. Aries is warrior or Mars energy. He's a mighty man of valor. That's a warrior, a Martian, but he was a leper, right? So he was from the Romans. At this time, the Arameans had gone out in bands and had taken a young girl from the land of Israel, and she was serving Naaman's wife. She said to her mistress, "If only my master would go to the prophet who was in Samaria, he would cure him of his leprosy." Right? Who was talking about? Jesus? Anyway, let's keep it moving. So that's Numbers 12:14. Numbers 12:14. One, two, three, 4, 2. Deuteronomy. Okay. We didn't do Deuteronomy now. Watch me now. One place for worship, Deuteronomy 12:14. Be careful not to offer your burnt offerings in just any place you see. You must offer them only in the place the Lord will choose in one of your tribal territories. And there you shall do all that I command you. But whenever you want, you may slaughter and eat meat within any of your gates, according to the blessings the Lord your God has given you. Both the ceremonial clean and unclean may eat it as they would a gazelle or deer. Mm. Deuteronomy 16:5. You are not to sacrifice the Passover animal in any of the towns that the Lord your God is giving you. You must only offer the Passover sacrifice at the place the Lord your God will choose as a dwelling for his name. Do this in the evening as the sun sets at the time you departed from Egypt. So herein lies some of the controversy with observant quote unquote Jews, if you will. They want to adhere to the book as strictly as possible, as much as they can. So the fact that they found their way back into the Holy Land, they are interpreting the scripture to say that when they have these ceremonial important engagements that are a prerequisite of their religion, such as making sacrifice, right, to their God, they've been instructed to only do it in the temple, right, and they can't do it at home. So they're thrust to take over the Al Aqsa Mosque and build a third temple is the impetus for why you see what you see in Israel today, and why they're very unapologetic about it, because it ultimately started at the Temple Mount and it's going to end at the Temple Mount, because it's all about the Temple Mount. It's all about the third temple, because they want to ceremoniously engage with ritualistic practice of the things that are necessary and needed for them to bring about their Messiah, who they refer to as Mashiach, or their Moses. Um, and they're hell bent on doing it. You know what I'm saying? And it's almost like if we live in a society, we're hostage to their insistence and their deliberateness and their dedication to getting it done. Everyone else is in the passenger seat on this planet while these people play out a self-fulfilling prophecy. Joshua 12:14, the king defeated west of the Jordan. The king of Debar won, the king of Gebar won, the king of Hormah won, the king of Arad won, the king of Libnah won, the king of Adullam won. Um, I'll do a cross reference, right? They was putting a lot of kings' heads on stakes, nonetheless. Numbers 21, 24. And Israel put him to the sword and took possession of his land from the Arnon to the Jabbok, but only up to the border of the Ammonites because it was fortified. Israel captured all of the cities of the Amorites and occupied them, including Heshbon and all of his villages. Heshbon was the city of Shihon, king of the Amorites, who had fought against the former king of Moab and taken all of his land as far as the Arnon. So these people was landsacking and landjacking one another left and right. You know what I'm saying? I'm gonna take your shit. And again, it all comes back down to the land. This is where you house your people at. This is where you grow your food at. And for some people, this is their identity is tethered to the land. They see themselves in the land. You know what I'm saying? Because they feel that they have a biblical divine right to it. And other people say, shit, well, I'm on my poo shiesty. I took it in blood. You feel me? I took it in blood. And therefore I ain't giving it back. And that's the posture that you see in this country today. You know what I'm saying? That's the posture that you see in them today. They like, we took it in blood. You know what I'm saying? It's our story to write. If we want to remix it, we remix it. If we want to amend it, we amend it. But by darn right, we should have every right to fill in the blanks and write the ending of this story. This is how the Caucasian, this is how the colonizer, this is how they feel today. This is how the Christian nationalist feels about this country. Right? That they have afforded themselves full access to however they choose to play this shit out, because they got it in blood. One Samuel's 12:14, Samuel's farewell address. Okay. Get us through there. Interesting. This is the time of Persephone. You better believe it. You better believe it. You better believe it. Shit lines up perfectly. Even if I was in my imaginary mind, it still lines up. Puff is a Scorpio. Scorpio's Hades, or the devil card. He's been referenced and referred to as that. The nigga's eyes turn black, right? And he's the Pied Piper. He is the Prince of Music. He has the strongest grip and control on society based on the bones that he's cut in music. Prince of Darkness, the nigga don't sleep. You know what I'm saying? Persephone is the Virgo, or the Virgin. And she gets taken into the underworld for the winter months until she comes up in spring, rescued by her mother. When the girl's mother got on stand, Cassie's mother got on stand and said, I couldn't get my daughter. I couldn't retrieve her. I couldn't even find her at times, let alone get her out of the spell. She was deep in it, but ultimately her mother was able to pluck her out of it. You know what I'm saying? Let's go into 1 Samuel 12:14. Now, here is the king you have chosen, the one you requested. Behold, the Lord has placed a king over you. If you fear the Lord and serve him and obey his voice, and if you do not rebel against the command of the Lord, and if both you and the king who reigns over you follow the Lord your God, then all will be well. But if you disobey the Lord and rebel against his command, then the hand of the Lord will be against you as it was against your fathers. Sins of the father. Okay. Now, therefore, fear the Lord and serve him in sincerity and truth. All right, Joshua 24:14 is a cross reference. Now, therefore, fear the Lord and serve him in sincerity and truth. Cast aside the gods your fathers served beyond the Euphrates and in Egypt, and serve the Lord. But if it is unpleasing in your sight to serve the Lord, then choose for yourselves this day whom you will serve, whether the gods your fathers served beyond the Euphrates, they're speaking about in Babylon, or the gods of the Amorites in whose land you are living. As for me and my house, we will serve the Lord. Right? So they almost made it like you got to pick a side. It was like battle rap. You feel me? Why was there so many competing deities in the land to begin with? If God is omnipresent and omnipotent, how did he have so much competition in his own backyard that preceded him for thousands of years? Where was he at? How is God a latecomer to his own party? You know what I'm saying? These are the questions that we be wanting to ask. How did the Hebrews supposed to build the goddamn pyramids and it was already built? Thousands of years. Right? And why was they built thousands of years and homage to these particular gods? Right? How did they get so much drop on y'all? How did you allow the cosmos to be mapped by the Greeks? How did the Greeks get a cosmic origin story underneath you, God, before you introduced your meager mythology that's not really cosmologically based? And you came along at a time when everyone else was tied to the cosmos. How did they get up there? How did they figure it out? And why would they need you if they already figured it out? Because you didn't bring a superior story. Your shit is all over the place. When you listen into these people's story, you know what I'm saying? Even if it's mythology, you kind of see where they was getting at. Like, I see why you did that. I see where you stole that from too. Like that's how old they stuff was. That they stole their stuff from ancient stuff and was able to rock out with it long enough that people thought that it was theirs. And then Judaism comes along. That was a long time later. The Greeks and the Romans had already been burnt out by the time the Jews came along. And they're supposed to be part of the origin story. Like what happened between Eve and all of this shit, nigga. 2 Samuel 12:14. David's loss and repentance. Then David said to Nathan, I have sinned against the Lord. The Lord has taken away your sin. Nathan replied, you will not die. Nevertheless, because by this deed you have shown utter contempt for the word of the Lord, the son born to you will surely die. Damn. After Nathan had gone home, the Lord struck the child that Uriah's wife had born to David, and he became ill. So David snakes Uriah to knock down his wife, right? How is that admirable? And adultery is one of the main sins, but David ends up being God's guy, right? He's the nigga he gonna ride with. Like, yeah, this is my guy right here. You know, like how Donald Trump goes to bat for Pete Hegseth no matter what Pete Hegseth does, right? Like that, nigga. Like David wasn't a great guy, and he struck down the firstborn because it was the sins of a father, baby. The sins of the father was adultery. The sins of the father was entrapment for murder, nigga. That nigga was he was putting out hits. He dropped a bag on Uriah's head and took his woman and put a seed in her. We'll do a cross reference and then keep it moving. Psalms 51:1. For the choir master, a psalm of David. When Nathan the prophet came to him after his adultery with Bathsheba, have mercy on me, O God, according to your loving devotion, according to your great compassion. Blot out my transgressions. Wash me clean of my iniquity and cleanse me from my sin. For I know my transgressions and my sin is always before me. Right? So the sins of the father ultimately still visit Solomon because Solomon is off the hook. You feel me? Solomon is off the hook. So you be losing that first child and you got no idea what's about to come in replace of it. And now the whole world is where the whole world is at, up in game. From the organized religions that stem from this Davidic root to spiritual communities, to esoteric and occult communities, because they also stem and spin from the root of Solomon, fraternal and occult, all the way down to the shit that we see with the Ras, down to the Jew, down to the you name it. It all ties back to this tainted seed right here. The sins of the father that ultimately lead in bleaching to the germ of the chosen ones. And now we see what we see, why we got what we got. You know what I'm saying? And then people is fighting to say, nah, that's me, son. That's who I am. Them ain't them people. Well, goddamn it. They sure is looking a lot more like them than you is. Sure is. 1 Kings 12:14, a rebellion against Rehoboam. And the king answered the people harshly. He rejected the advice of the elders and spoke to them as the young men had advised, saying, whereas my father made your yoke heavy, I will add to your yoke. Whereas my father scourged you with whips, I will scourge you with scorpions. So the king did not listen to the people. And indeed, this turn of events was from the Lord to fulfill the word he had spoken to Jeroboam, son of Nebat, through Ahijah the Shilonite. There's a lot going on. Let's do a cross reference because they're over here shaking. 1 Kings 12:10. Let's see what led up to that. The young men who had grown up with him replied, this is how you should answer these people who said to you, your father made our yoke heavy, but you must make it lighter. This is what you should tell them. My little finger is thicker than my father's waist. Whew. Whereas my father burdened you with the heavy yoke, I will add to your yoke. Whereas my father scourged you with whips, I will scourge you with scorpions. So they was telling him, double down, nigga. It was like, go dark. Go dark. It's like, you got trolls out here, nigga. Answer these trolls. 2 Kings 12:14. Joash repairs the temple. However, the money brought into the house of the Lord was not used for making silver basins, wick trimmers, sprinkling bowls, trumpets, or any article of gold or silver for the house of the Lord. Instead, it was paid to those doing the work. And with it, they repaired the house of the Lord. No accounting was required from the men who received the money to pay the workmen because they acted with integrity. So you know they was cooking the books back then on who was building these temples and shit, right? They ain't had no records of it. They were just paying people out of integrity. No doubt. Look, somebody said something. I got to put this on the record because it's 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 one hell of a flex. Solomon gave you Proverbs, Ecclesiastes, and warned me not to fall victim to his vice, which was women. Solomon is the GOAT. I can't argue with that. I'm just saying, let's put it in perspective. You know what I'm saying? So we're not sanctifying it. You know, you got to see Solomon how you seen Keanu Reeves and Constantine. He got 1 foot in and 1 foot out. As long as we could see it like that, cool. Don't sanitize him to make the story work. That's all I'm saying. Because you're missing the whole point if that's the case. All right, we're in 1 Chronicles. 1 Chronicles 12:14. The mighty men joined David at Ziklag. Jeremiah the 10th and Machbina the 11th. These Gadites were army commanders, the least of whom was a match for 100 and the greatest for 1,000. These are the ones who crossed Jordan in the first month when it was overflowing all its banks, and they put to fight all those in the valleys, both to the east and to the west. They was putting in that work. 1 Chronicles 11:10. Now these were the chiefs of David's mighty men, who together with all Israel bolstered and strengthened his kingdom, according to the word of the Lord concerning Israel. This is the list of David's mighty men. Joshobeam, son of Hakmoni, was chief of the officers. He wielded his spear against 300 men, whom he killed at one time. Next in command was Eleazar, son of Dodo, the Ahohite, one of the 3 mighty men. Yeah, he was rolling with hitters, man. He had some hitters with him. You know what I'm saying? So this is why it was so important for him to keep the Uriah thing under wraps, because he kept some warriors and some hitters around him. And if they had low morale because he was knocking off, he was knocking off the boss man to get his wife, yeah, that might cause some strife. A lot of it. All right, 2 Chronicles 12:14. 2 Chronicles 12:14. Hold on, let me see if this is 2 Chronicles 12:14. Hold on. Change this up. Give me 1 second, y'all, please. Y'all all right out there? Hopefully everybody okay. Remove this from studio. Remove this from studio. Image file. 2 Kings 12:14. All right, that's what we're doing. No, I'm calling for it. It's the wrong thing. It's Chronicles. My bad. Oh yeah, y'all ain't right. The snow freezing, right? I literally was thinking about calling this program. It's too damn cold. And I was like, everybody might not be able to relate. Everybody might not be able to relate. So I had to find a more universal. The sun is out, nigga. The sun is out. Let's be clear. The sun is beaming. It's just brick. Oh, the sun is out. Remove. Remove. All right, 2 Chronicles. The death of Rehoboam. Rehoboam. Thus King Rehoboam established himself in Jerusalem. He was 41 years old when he became king, and he reigned 17 years in Jerusalem, the city the Lord had chosen from all of the tribes of Israel in which to put his name. His mother's name was Naamah, the Ammonite. And Rehoboam did evil because he did not set his heart to seek the Lord. Now, the acts of Rehoboam from first to last, are they not written in the records of Shemaiah the prophet and of Edu the seer concerning the genealogies? There was war between Rehoboam and Jeroboam throughout their days. All right, we're going to do a cross reference and then keep it moving. 1 Kings 14:22. And Judah did evil in the sight of the Lord, and by the sins they committed, they provoked him to jealous anger more than all of their fathers had done. They also built for themselves high places, sacred pillars, and Asherah poles on every high hill and under every green tree. There were even male shrine prostitutes in the land. They imitated all the abominations of the nations the Lord had driven out before the Israelites. So they was on a diddy shit. They had male sex workers in the land too. And the Asherah poles, them niggas was on stripper poles. So it was freaky shit going on back then. You know what I'm saying? It was freaky shit going on back then too. Where you think Caligula come from, my nigga? These people grew up around them people. It was them same times. Right, pause. But yeah, man. Job responds to Zophar. Right? It's yeah, this is Roman cultures, Romanistic domination, dominion by domineering. You feel me? That's what we're looking at. And all of that was baked into religion. You know what I'm saying? Especially Christendom. Christendom has to dominate the body. They're about conquest. That's domination. You know what I'm saying? It's the same shit. Job responds to Zophar. Wisdom and strength belong to God. Counsel and understanding are his. What he tears down cannot be rebuilt. The man he imprisons cannot be released. If he holds back the waters, they dry up. If he releases them, they overwhelm the land. Right? This is the power that we allocate to divinity. When natural disasters happen, they call them acts of God. Those things can't be assured. The power of nature, of the climate, belongs to the mechanisms of the Most High. They're being tampered with now because of man and his machinations, his technology and machinery. But these were often realms that were understood and believed to be the divine dominions of divinity. And when he had attitude, when he wanted to punish a people, when he wanted to make an example, he used these mediums to get his point across. Matthew 16:19, I will give you the keys of the kingdom of heaven. Whatever you bind on earth will be bound in heaven, and whatever you loose on earth will be loosed in heaven. You know what I'm saying? So you working this shit like a gear shift. You are tethered and connected to the cosmic canopy that's above you that operates and replicates like a mirror. So that's why you have to be very mindful of your action, ways, and activities on this plane of existence, you know, and to the end of days, because there's a direct connection and correlation to the cosmos with how you show up and how you step and how you put your foot down. Direct connection and correlation. We are in Proverbs 12:14, loving discipline and knowledge. Okay. Let's see. See if we can do this real quick. Share screen. Share screen. All right. Proverbs. An evil man is trapped by his rebellious speech, but a righteous man escapes from trouble. By fruitful speech, a man is filled with good things, and the work of his hands returns to him. The way of a fool is right in his own eyes, but a wise man listens to counsel. Right? So we've seen that be repeated repetitively today about counsel, the importance of counsel. I was on our good brother Rich's program the other day. I was with Red, and I was speaking about, at this age, stage, and phase of our life, crossing the rubrics of being the age of 50. This kind of qualifies you as a elder, as a young elder, to be part of a council. And I've been stepping forward and sharing information with the youth. And the youth is anybody under 50. And in some cases, people over the age of 50, information that we've learned through our daily demonstration or our research. So showing up as counsel is very important right now, because our people need it the most. Right? Okay, so elders these days are 70, so I'm a elder. I'm just a glorified young elder, willing to play my part and do what's needed and necessary, while admitting I still don't know it all. You know what I'm saying? But at some point you have to show up on that council and play your part and do it smart. You know what I'm saying? Because it can determine the direction that someone chooses to head in. Ultimately, you can hurt or you can help. And if there's something that you have to help, you get to help a nigga. There's a lot of help that's needed in this world in order for healing to take place. The helpers have to help. You're not a healer, nigga. Heal yourself. You a helper, glorify one, but you a helper nonetheless. Get to helping. Okay? Proverbs. So we'll do a cross reference and we'll keep it moving, y'all. James 3:2. We all stumble in many ways. If anyone is never at fault in what he says, he is a perfect man, able to control his whole body. When he puts bits into the mouths of horses to make them obey us, we can guide the whole animal. Consider ships as well. Although they are so large and are driven by strong winds, they are steered by a very small rudder wherever the pilot is inclined. Okay. As big as the ship is, as big as you are, you the shit. I get it. You know what I'm saying? But if you learn to listen and follow counsel, it might be an old man shriveled up that does not physically imposing to you. And his status might not be something that you revere or desire, right? He might be an old man in front of the goddamn liquor store. You feel me? Still might have the amount of wisdom, information, and something that you need to hear in that very moment that you should at least be willing to listen. And that's all that's asked and required of you, right? Is your patience and cooperations, my nigga. Feel me? So and this proverb never gets old because again, if nothing else, there are these sayings that we can look at in society and say that these are universal truths. They might have ended up in different books, and you know, we can go to the origin point and to use that to discredit the book, but nonetheless, was it a pellet of information that helped the conversation get to another gear, right? Such as this. Okay, such as this. Proverbs 18:20. From the fruit of his mouth, a man's belly is filled. With the harvest from his lips, he is satisfied. Life and death are in the power of the tongue, and those who love it will eat its fruit. I'll repeat. From the fruit of his mouth, a man's belly is filled. With the harvest from his lips, he is satisfied. Life and death are in the power of the tongue, and those who love it will eat its fruit. Okay? So these are universal truths, right? Ones we should not duck, ones we should not shirk. In the spirit of truth. Okay, universal truths. The power of life and death is definitely in the tongue. Ecclesiastes 12:14, the fear of God is utmost. When all has been heard, the conclusion of the matter is this: fear God and keep his commandments, because this is the whole duty of man. For God will bring every deed into judgment along with every hidden thing, whether good or evil, right? You know, think about life. We are our purest at the time of birth, right? We are our purest at time of birth. And this is when they would castigate that purification ritual and say that you were born in sin. But the fact that you were bathed in blood means that you've been purified from sin, right? And we've read this before, that you were born free of sin because you got baptized by blood by coming through your mother's canal. They said that the sin now has to be lifted from the parents, and the mother in this tradition, after 7 days, would have to go and be, purified, if you will, of her sins. But you were baptized in blood, so you was born sinless. You were the most perfected that you're ever going to be at that time of birth. Everything going forward is going backwards because now you start making decisions, you start making mistakes, you start, making mishaps. You know, you make these allowed, allocated mistakes, these boo-boos and things of that nature, right? And even though it might be tightening you up, it's getting you further and further away from perfection. You know, you're falling into humanity, which is very imperfect. Okay. So it's our jobs to manage ourselves. It's our jobs to keep our books right, our records right. It's our job to self-audit our lives to make sure that we're in compliance, even though you envision there is an invisible recorder at all times of all things being done internally and externally. So it's being written in your DNA, on your ribosomes and chromosomes, right? Everything that you're doing is being programmed. It'll become part of it lives in your genitals and it'll be part of your stem cells, my nigga. So the replication of you is going to be the last nigga that you was, and the last decision that you made, and the last thing that you said about yourself to yourself is who you are, right? And it gets a little bit more complex with time. So understanding that we are our perfect selves at time of birth, we will prioritize childbirth different. We will prioritize being in that child's life different. We will prioritize what the mother's going through different. If we understood that she was a perpetuating blood baptismal edifice as well, that her blood is baptized in that child and removing all sin of it, and that child is born into this world perfect, and then the process starts backwards. Hebrew 4:13, nothing in all creation is hidden from God's sight. Everything is uncovered and exposed before the eyes of him to whom we must give account, right? You came down here to register and record your personal account of lifing, right? You came down here to take a stab at it. You came down here to register some memory in the memory bank of the Most High so that she can know itself a little bit better, a tad bit better, get closer to its own personal truths about self, right? That's the small part that you play in the all. Ecclesiastes 14:12, because there's no 12:14. So we'll flip it, we'll mirror it, we'll invert it, and we get downfall of the king of Babylon. How succinct is that? Your pomp has been brought down to Sheol, which is their version of hell or the underworld, along with the music of your harps. Maggots are your bed and worms your blanket. How you have fallen from heaven, O day star, son of the dawn. You have been cut down to the ground, O destroyer of nations. You said in your heart, I will ascend to the heavens. I will raise my throne above the stars of God. I will sit on the mount of assembly in the far reaches of the north. So in this particular demonstration and dissertation, and looking at the king of Babylon as Shaitan, right? The fallen one, the day star, the son of dawn, the son of the morning, Lucifer, the Venus star. Okay. Let's do a cross reference and then move it on. Revelations 12:7. Then the war broke out in heaven. Michael and his angels fought against the dragon, and the dragon and his angels fought back. But the dragon was not strong enough, and no longer was any place found in heaven for him and his angels. And the great dragon was hurled down, that ancient serpent called the devil and Satan, the deceiver of the whole world. He was hurled to the earth, and his angels with him. Interesting. Interesting. Yeah. Interesting. Isaiah, now we're in Jeremiah 12, 14. A message from Israel's neighbors. This is what the Lord says. As for all of my evil neighbors who attack the inheritance that I bequeath to my people Israel, I am about to uproot them from their land, and I will uproot the house of Judah from amongst them. But after I have uprooted them, I will once again have compassion on them and return each one to his inheritance and to his land. Man, that's one hell of a mind fuck, bro. The God of gods is against you. You're in your land. That God wants your land for his so-called children. That God is going to remove you from the land and still end up restoring you back to the land to play this perpetual game of tabletop tennis with people's territories and their titles. And we're living today to still see the results of it in Israel, in Palestine. For God not being able to make his mind up or create a land that's specific to his people. Like, how did you get boxed into creating one promised land and somebody was already promised it or found their way to it? But you want to clear them people off. Like, why don't you just put a tornado through there or something? But the shit that he be having to do for unappreciative people, some crazy work. Ezekiel 28:24, for the people of Israel will no longer face a pricking briar or a painful thorn from all around them who treat them with contempt. Then they will know that I am the Lord. This is what the Lord God says. When I gather the house of Israel from the peoples amongst whom they have been scattered, I will show myself holy amongst them in the sight of the nations. Then they will dwell in their own land, which I have given to my servant Jacob. And there they will dwell securely, build houses, and plant vineyards. They will dwell securely when I execute judgments against all those around them who treat them with contempt. Then they will know that I am their Lord. I could say a lot. I'm gonna save it. Let's go to the actual Ezekiel. Okay, we was all one continent. All right, was it called Palestine? 12:14. Was it Canaan land? Was it one continent called Canaan land? Signs of the coming captivity. Ezekiel 12:14. But I will spread my net over him, and he will be caught in my snare. I will bring him to Babylon, the land of the Chaldeans, yet he will not see it, and there he will die. And I will scatter to every wind all of the attendants around him and all of his troops, and I will draw a sword to chase after them. And they will know that I am the Lord when I disperse them amongst the nations and scatter them throughout the country. Cross-reference, that we can keep it moving. 2 Kings 25:4. Then the city was breached, and though the Chaldeans had surrounded the city, All of the men of war fled by night by way of the gates between the two walls near the king's garden. They headed towards the Arabah, but the army of the Chaldeans pursued the king and overtook him in the plains of Jericho, and his whole army deserted him. The Chaldeans seized the king and brought him up to the king of Babylon at Riblah, where they pronounced judgment on him. All right, let's move to Daniel 12. We don't have a 14. We'll take it to 12, 13. This is called Michael's Deliverance and the End Times. Mikhael. Blessed is he who waits and reaches the end of the 1,335 days. But as for you, go on your way until the end. You will rest and will arise to your inheritance at the end of days. Right? Cross-reference, and we'll move on. Revelations 22:12. Behold, I am coming soon, and my reward is with me to give to each one according to what he has done. I am the Alpha and the Omega, the first and the last, the beginning and the end. Blessed are those who wash their robes so that they may have the right to the tree of life and may enter the city by its gates. Okay. Let's keep it moving. But let's do a cross-reference before we move real quick. 1 Corinthians 15:42. And so will it be with the resurrection of the dead. What is sown is perishable. What is raised imperishable. It is sown in dishonor. It is raised in glory. It is sown in weakness. It is raised in power. It is sown a natural body. It is raised a spiritual body. If there's a natural body, there is also a spiritual body. Okay? And that spiritual body can exist in your mind and your imagination, and you can utilize your own mind and your imagination to turn that spiritual body into a macabre, so you can travel into your inner world, into your inner verse. You know what I'm saying? Into the kingdom of Christ that exists within you. You can travel within it in your mind through a macabre and make the patches and repairs, do the checkups. You know what I'm saying? And do the things that you need to fine tune your vehicle, your temple, your steeplechase, amplify your inner light. Oh boy. All right. Yes, I see the translations. All of these to the left are different translations. Granted that they're not that differing in the text based on what's being read. You want me to read them all? Hosea 12:14, a reproof of Ephraim, Judah, Jacob. But by a prophet the Lord brought Israel out of Egypt, and by a prophet he was preserved. Ephraim was provoked bitter anger, so his Lord will leave him will leave his blood guilt upon him and repay him for his contempt. Cross reference Jeremiah 25:6. Do not follow other gods to serve and worship them, and do not provoke me to anger with the works of your hands. Then I will do you no harm. But to your own harm, you have not listened to me, declares the Lord. So you have provoked me to anger with the works of your hands. Ephraim has provoked God to bitter anger, so his Lord will leave his guilt for bloodshed on him and bring his disgrace back to him. That's another reading and interpretation of it, right? That makes it a little bit more succinct. And we get the gist of what's being said. You know, no disrespect to people who are purists when it comes to scripture and what have you, but scripture has been tampered with. It has been, weaponized, right, and utilized in a way in which it speaks specifically to people who are putting putting the script together, putting the play together, putting the game together. We are here doing the best that we can with unpacking it, right? To make it make sense. In these days and times, right? If you insist that it's so imperative and so important to our spiritual hygiene, let us cook. Zechariah 12:14, right? Mourning the one they pierced. The clan of the house of Levi and their wives, the clan of Shimei and their wives, and all of the remaining clans and their wives. They were all grieving. They were all grieving. Uh I mean, yeah, Revelations 1:7. Behold, he is coming with the clouds, and every eye will see him, even those who pierced him. And all of the tribes of the earth will mourn because of him. So shall it be. Amen. So I've asked this question before, and why not ask it again? Why don't we know the name of the bloodline of the actual Romans who pierced the side of the Savior? Like, why isn't are the people with the surname Palates, Pontius Pilates, are they cursed? What about the people with the last name of Herod? Are they cursed? Like, are those bloodlines finished on the planet, or are they still flourishing? Are they part of the original 13 families? Right? Why don't they make an emphasis on finding out who these people are that committed some of the most heinous acts ever? Right? We know Judas' name, but what about the nigga who pierced him with the spear? Right? What happened to his bloodline? What happened to the bloodline of the centurion that was the first witness of Jesus rolling back the rock? Because he was the only witness that bore witness to the resurrection. What happened to his bloodline? What about the bloodline of Barnabas? Jesus heals on the Sabbath, Matthew 12:14. Then Jesus said to the man, stretch out your hand. So he stretched it out, and it was restored to full use, just like the other. But the Pharisees went out and plotted how they might kill Jesus. Aware of this, Jesus withdrew from that place. Large crowds followed him, and he healed them all. John 5:16 as a cross reference. Now, because Jesus was doing these things on the Sabbath, the Jews began to persecute him. But Jesus answered them, to this very day, my Father is at his work, and I too am working. Because of this, the Jews tried all of the harder to kill him. Not only was he breaking the Sabbath, but he was even calling God his own Father, making himself equal with God. Right? So those were means and reasons in which he was put to death for his heresy. It's not very smart to say that you come from God and you are God. You know what I'm saying? But the very things that God said were necessary to show that you pay homage to God or you're part of his covenant are the things that you're bucking against and saying are no longer relevant, such as Sabbath. You know what I'm saying? It's an integral part of the narrative that the believers believe, right? Especially since toiling is such a prominent part of the book and it's part of the original sin that man will toil the land for food. Prior to that, he was born into a food forest that he got his ass kicked up out of because his whiz was jacking with another nigga Tola. Right? She got gorilla pimped by a serpent and he slid up in her. And because of that, man got thrown out on his back and he had to toil the land for food. Right? But at the first harvest, when Cain brought God some apples and shit, God don't like apples. Right? Adam got it because of the apple. Pause. Cain got it because of the apple. You feel me? But when they brought him curry mutton, game on. He was like, yeah, I like this. Like this. right? So going back to working and toiling and working the land, things of that nature, feel me? Like, how you gonna tell him to take a day off? Or he don't take a day off, but God took a day off. He worked 144 hours a week, and then he rest. Nigga, you need to rest. You was doing healing on your day off, nigga. Like, come on, son. You was just extra with it. You forced their hand by being extra. Mark 12:14, paying taxes to Caesar. Late it didn't nigga probably didn't want to pay taxes too. Later, they sent some of the Pharisees and Herodians to catch Jesus in his words. Teacher, they said, we know that you are honest and seek favor from no one. Indeed, you are impartial and teach the way of God in accordance with the truth. Is it lawful to pay taxes to Caesar or not? Should we pay them or not? But Jesus saw through their hypocrisy and said, why are you testing me? Huh? Bring me a denarius to inspect. Right? So he was fucking the money up. They wanted to see if he was that stupid. Like, is he gonna fuck the money up? Oh, he come from God. Okay, he God too. Great. Is he gonna fuck the money up though? One Peter 2:13. Submit yourself to the Lord's sake, to every human institution, whether to the king as the supreme authority or the governors as those sent by him to punish those who do wrong and to praise those who do right. For it is God's will that by doing good you should silence the ignorance of foolish men. Let's see where they put the remix in it at. Right? Romans 13:7. Pay everyone what you owe him. Taxes to whom taxes are due, revenue to whom revenue is due, respect to whom respect is due, honor to whom honor is due. So they said that Paul was a Roman spy and he helped cook the books, right? Because Christianity became a tool of Roman conquest once Constantine adopts it and brings it into the fold officially and unifies it with empire, right? It's the instruction manuals to empirical conquest. So why would they leave anything in a book that says don't pay taxes to Rome? And Rome is running the show from then to now. This has been good business for Rome. The killing of the Messiah has been great business for Rome. Great business. Luke 12:14, the parable of the rich fool. Someone in the crowd said to him, Teacher, tell my brother to divide the inheritance with me. But Jesus replied, Man, who appointed me judge or executor between you? And he said to them, Watch out. Guard yourselves against every form of greed, for one's life does not consist in the abundance of his possessions. Okay. So, how is he the king of kings and the judge of judges if he didn't even want to judge something? Um, but yes, but also he gave that man the ability, right, to be his own boss, executor of his own estate. You know what I'm saying? Why he just didn't tell him, look, y'all, I'm about to die and shit. You just got to believe in me and you're gonna be good regardless of what you do. Why he didn't tell him that? Why was that not his mission and his message until after the fact? Mark 10:42. So Jesus called them together and said, You know that those regarded as rulers of the Gentiles lord it over them, and their superiors exercise authority over them. But it shall not be this way amongst you. Instead, whoever wants to become great amongst you must be your servant, and whoever wants to be first must be the slave of all. That's deep. Whoever wants to be first must be the slave of all, my nigga. There's only a few people on the planet I know that qualify as that. 12:14. John, the triumphal entry. They took palm branches and went out to meet him, shouting, Hosanna, blessed is he who comes in the name of the Lord, blessed is the King of Israel. Finding a young donkey, Jesus sat on it, as it is written, do not be afraid, O daughter of Zion, see your king is coming, seated on the colt of a donkey. Right? So Jesus rode in on the donkey. Paul rode in on the donkey. Constantine rode in on the donkey. Fill in any blanks that I'm leaving out, because I know that there was more of them that rode in on donkeys. All right, let's keep it moving. Acts. See what they got for us in Acts, y'all. Y'all all right? 12:14. Acts. The rescue of Peter. He knocked at the outer gate, and a servant girl named Rhoda came to answer it. When she recognized Peter's voice, she was so overjoyed that she forgot to open the gate, but ran inside and announced, Peter's standing at the gate. You are out of your mind, they told her. But when she kept insisting it was so, they said, it must be his angel. Must be his angel. Let's do a cross reference. Luke 24:22. Furthermore, some of our women astounded us. They were at the tomb early this morning, but they did not find his body. They came and told us they had seen a vision of angels who said that Jesus was alive. Jesus is alive. They said Jesus was alive. Angels. Talking angels. Romans 12:14. Forgiveness. Share with the saints who are in need. Practice hospitality. Bless those who persecute you. Bless and do not curse. No, rejoice with those who rejoice. Weep with those who weep. Look, man, Paul put the mix in all through Romans and Corinthians, and yeah, man. Matthew 5:10. Blessed are those who are persecuted because of righteousness, for theirs is the kingdom of heaven. Blessed are you when people insult you, persecute you, and falsely say all kinds of evil against you because of me. Rejoice and be glad, because great is your reward in heaven. For in the same way they persecuted the prophets before you. Right? So don't duck, don't shirk no prosecution, persecution, because that just means that you are in alignment with prophets that have come before you, who have been prosecuted and persecuted for truths, nigga. So you are in a long line of victorious, martyrous type of individuals. So stand your ground, my nigga. One Corinthians 12:14, the body of Christ. For in one spirit we were all baptized into one body, whether Jews or Greeks, slave or free, and we were all given one spirit to drink. For the body does not consist of one part, but of many. If the foot should say, because I am not a hand, I do not belong to the body, that will not make it any less a part of the body. Of the body. Okay? Romans 12:4, just as each of us has one body with many members, and not all members have the same function, so in Christ we who are many are one body, and each member belongs to one another. One another. Huh? Pardon me, y'all. 1 Corinthians, 2 Corinthians. We're almost there, y'all. We are almost there at our destination. 12:14, 2 Corinthians. Concern for the Corinthians. In what way were you inferior to other churches, except that I was not a burden to you? Forgive me this wrong. See, I am ready to come to you a third time, and I will not be a burden, because I am not seeking your possessions, but you. For children should not have to save up for their parents, but parents for their children. And for the sake of your souls, I will most gladly spend my money and myself. If I love you more, will you love me less? We'll do a cross reference to keep it moving. 1 Thessalonians 2:5. As you know, we never use words of flattery or any pretext for greed. God is our witness. Nor do we seek praise from you or from anyone else. Although as apostles of Christ, we had authority to demand it. On the contrary, we were gentle amongst you, like a nursing mother caring for her children. You got a lot of nerve. I hear you though. I hear you though. Collisions, Thessalonians. 2 Thessalonians. Is there anything there for us? Nope. Is there anything in 1 Timothy? Nope. Is there anything in 2 Timothy? Nope. Is there anything in Hebrews? Hopefully, yep. Let's see what we get. Hebrew 12:14. Let's go. A call to holiness. Let's get it. Make straight paths for your feet, so that the lame may not be disabled, but rather healed. Pursue peace with everyone. Pursue peace with everyone, as well as holiness, without which no one will see the Lord. See to it that no one falls short of the grace of God, and that no root of bitterness springs up to cause trouble and defile many. Cross reference, and we're going to keep it moving. 2 Corinthians 7:1. Therefore, beloved, since we have these promises, let us cleanse ourselves from everything that defiles body and spirit, perfecting holiness in the fear of God. Okay. So even initially, for the record, right, we would be our holiest, we would be our most perfect at a point in time in which we were born, right? Because we have the less amount of defiling of our bodies, right? We have the less amount of defiling. We are being bathed in a microbiome of our mothers, wombs or what have you. The blood in the microbiome, we get crowned when we get born, right? We're the purest we're ever going to be. We have the less defiling in our system unless, of course, we're born with a condition, right? Um, so yes, the birth seed, the seed at time of birth is the most perfect that a human is gonna. That's the most perfection that you can come to. It never gets better than that. Just like if you woke up this morning, there's no blessing that you're gonna get that's gonna outmatch that, right? The blessing and the blessing is life itself. So as long as you have attained that daily, yeah, you can level up, but ain't nothing like the random blessing of life, to be chosen to wake up and have the opportunity to get at this thing one more again. So we are in Revelations 12:14. Find ourselves at the end of the book, and this is called the woman persecuted. The woman persecuted. And when the dragon saw that he had been thrown to the earth, he pursued the woman who had given birth to the male child. But the woman was given 2 wings of a great eagle to fly from the presence of the serpent to her place in the wilderness, where she was nourished for a time, and times, and half a time. Then from the mouth of the serpent spewed water like a river to overtake the woman and sweep her away in the torrent. Right? That's a lot of dedication that the dragon or Shaitan would have to the firstborn, to your son, right? And the ability the serpent utilized as a motif of beguiling, of cunningness, right? It said that the devil operates through persuasion. You know what I'm saying? We're losing our children in the wilderness before they make it to the garden. Before they themselves can fruit and have seeds, we're losing them. Before they can get grounded and get connected with the trees, we're losing them. Before they can discover the real food, we're losing them in the wilderness, right? Daniel 12:7. And the man dressed in linen who was above the waters of the river raised his right hand and his left hand towards heaven, and I heard him swear by him who lives forever, saying, I will be for a time and times and half a time, when the power of the holy people has finally been shattered, all these things will be completed. You know what I'm saying? So we're dealing with times, and half a time. God damn it. That's a lot of timing. You feel me? So mote it be. We're going to do one last checkup from the neck up and go to the Quran and see what the Quran got in store for us for 12:14, right? See if there's any cross correlation or cross connection. Put the Cash App up there if you want to make a donation to the ministries. $ Ms. Harvey 917. We do appreciate your patronage here. All right, so let's go to the Quran. Chapter 12. Ayat 14. See what we get here. Surah Yusuf Ayat 14. Okay. They said, if a wolf should eat him while we are a strong clan, indeed, we would then be losers. They said, if the wolf would have devoured him while we were so large a party, then should we indeed first have perished ourselves. If a wolf devours him while we are a usba, a strong group to guard him, then surely we are the losers, right? Should a wolf eat him despite the presence of our strong group, we would indeed be a worthless lot, right? Hold your people down, even in the presence of wolves. You feel me? we cannot stand to lose and sacrifice these children that we are offering up into the wilderness. Hence the fact that they say it takes a village. When we had a village, we're getting a lot of testimonials from people who were even lost in the presence in the midst of a village, but they still told you that the village operated in accordance to how a village was supposed to operate. Now imagine no village whatsoever. We don't live in communities. You don't know your neighbors. You can't knock on the door. Ain't nobody concerned with what your son is going through on a block, or if your daughter is safe, you know what I'm saying, at weird hours in the neighborhoods. Those are the things that someone was always looking out for us in the blind spots, that there was always watchers. Those are the things that kept us out of the clutches of the underworld, right? Or the claws of, cause shit, I lived in the underworld. I had a mailing address there, but I didn't end up in the clutches of Shaitan, because I still was firm in the decisions that I make to not move closer to Shaitan. To say, yeah, he lived across the street. I knew exactly where he lived at. I never went to his door though. I never knocked on his door for a goddamn thing. You feel me? But I knew where he lived because we was neighbors. Where we left at today, when if we have what we consider to be strong community, but our children are still not safe, then we don't have strong community. If a wolf can devour one of our own in the presence, in the midst of us, then we can't promise safety for our children's passage either. This is why our elder, Neely Fuller, said something that was so riveting to me, right? So riveting to me that I had to sit back and question everything. And he said, if you can't tell your woman or your child that if you can't say y'all are safe and mean it, do you really love them? Right? Because the highest expression of love as men that we should be able to show to our children or the women in our society and our community is that they're protected, that they're loved, right? That the men are doing what men are supposed to do in this particular case, which is providing safety, security, support, presence. You know what I'm saying? If we cannot wholeheartedly present them with that and stand on that, right? Do we love is Are we real about our expression of love if we cannot deliver on the love? Is what I'm saying. If our oppressor, if our adversary is a gang in blue, right? 12, or Nazi, European, skinhead, whatever, KKK, whatever, right? If there's a known threat that exists, adversarial force, and we're not handling our business to make sure that our women and our children are free of that threat, how can we tell them that we love them? We just using these words. They sound cool, they're colorful, but we ain't see love in a long time. We haven't seen love in a long time. I remember seeing our elders fight back for our communities, fight a losing fight. They didn't have the resources, they didn't have the drive, they didn't have the determination, they didn't have the stomach to do the things that was necessary to dissuade hustlers from holding their neighborhoods hostage, from holding their block siege, from niggas having free pick up the litter of the daughters in that neighborhood, and their fathers came home from Vietnam, but their fathers was hiding under the bed because they got shell shocked because them niggas was letting off Intratechs and AK-47s at the age of 14 and 15. And I seen them hold the community under hostage. And I seen old Charles with the wooden leg couldn't do a goddamn thing about it, but he went and fought for the country. But he couldn't save his daughters. I remember seeing that. I remember knowing that the elders was losing the fight, right? And having determined, how the fuck am I gonna uphold it? You know what I'm saying? How am I not gonna succumb to going into the under layer of the underworld, right? But just being a resident in the neighborhood, but never crossing the street and knocking on the devil's door for butter, bread, and butter. So we had to witness that shit, the frailty and the faultiness of not being prepared for when your own progeny, when your own your own people, your own clan, your own family, your own village turns against you and devours your children. Yeah, we have truly lived through some times. You know what I'm saying? We have truly lived through some interesting times. Um, so give yourself a pat on the back. Allow yourself to have um allow yourself to have grace. Grace, that's the word that I'm looking for. Allow yourself to have grace. You feel me? Because our parents didn't do that much of a better job than we failed to do for ourselves once we realized that we were fucking living in the terror dome. That we were living in the terror dome and we was born into some other shit, right? And still we rise, and yet still we stand. And the decisions are still in our hands to make this world a better place, or we could contribute to the motherfucking shithole that it has unfortunately become, right? With inept leadership at the rudder as captains of this motherfucking ship that's about to crash and cascade, right? And still we rise, and still we are poised to make pivotal decisions, right? And still we have access to the resources to remedy our own problems, heal our own traumas, right? Save our own children. You feel me? Still, we have access to that. And I feel that it's directly connected to food and our production of food, and maximizing and mastermizing food production. I would feel will put us back in contention for the title belt once again. What is that title belt? Motherfucking greatest man alive. God damn it. You heard it. Let me close you out. That's the funky omen and pat me on version. I ain't gonna do that to you though. I ain't gonna switch up on you.
Mani padme ho, Om Mani padme ho,
Yeah.
Om Mani padme ho, 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 Om Mani padme ho. Mani padme ho, Om 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 Mani padme ho. Mani padme ho, Om 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 Mani padme ho. Om Mani padme ho, 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 Om Mani padme Padme